Hey friend, Sean from Draft Therapy here, and on today's review for you, this is what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps, Larry. No Rules is a 15% bourbon barrel-aged Vietnamese Imperial Porter from Perrin Brewing Company in Comstock, Michigan. No Rules has been a taproom-only release for the last few years, and I usually just miss out on it. I can't make it out to Comstock to pick it up, but I'd say that one of the few good things to come out of 2020 is the increase in online beer releases, because if it weren't for that, I probably wouldn't have been able to snag this one or its variants. So let's hope that that whole trend continues going forward. Now, with that being said, let's take a look at the label. We'll get it into a glass, but first I'd like to thank my executive producers, Eric Latowski, Brian Kramer, David Jeffries, and Zach for helping to bring this review to you today. If you'd like to become a producer, help out the channel, or maybe even just buy me a beer, take a look at my Patreon at patreon.com/draft_therapy, where you can get early access to these videos, exclusive patron-only live streams, and a few other special perks available only to patrons. So we're going to take a look at the label. We'll get into a glass, just like I said. So the label hasn't changed much since last year's. Last year, I believe, was the first year that they kind of changed this more cartoony look at Walter Sobchak than from previous years. Before, it was a little bit more of a painted oil painting kind of look, but now it's a little bit more of an illustrated look. Across the top it says No Rules, and it looks like a bowling alley background. This year Walter is holding a red bowling ball. I believe last year was a blue bowling ball. Underneath that it says Vietnamese Porter, Imperial Porter aged in oak bourbon barrels. This is 1.6 fluid ounces. This is 650 milliliters. And this is 15% alcohol by volume, as I mentioned before. If we turn it to the side here, it says no rules were followed throughout the creation of this product. This 15% Imperial Porter was made with coconut and turbinado sugar, then laid down and aged in bourbon barrels for several months. We hope you enjoy this product as much as we did making it. And then all the different deposit and all the different state deposit information, all that good stuff. We turn it over to the other side. It has the Perrin Brewing Company logo, and that's it. Plain and simple. I like that. The cap on this is the normal Perrin Brewing Company label, the regular cap with the shield. On the other releases, I think they're just black caps. So, I mean, like the other variants. So let's go ahead and we're going to crack this, put a nose on it. And yeah, I'm hoping that I really enjoyed last year's. It was the first time I'd had it in a few years. So that's what kind of, spurred me to try this one and try to get this one. Getting big bourbon barrel characteristic, a little bit of a spicy kind of note. There's some chocolate going on in there. We're going to pour it into this large snifter style glass, and we'll get a nose out of that one too. So pouring it in here, it's coming out pretty dark out of the bottle. I can see through it. It has a bit of a red tinge to it. That is that's a big pour of No Rules. This is 15%. I'm almost all the way, I'm at least halfway through the bottle. This is a big pour. And anyways, I'm like, oh no. Looking at this, I've got about a finger of head. The head is a little bit of, it's a tan colored head. It's not quite coffee colored. I wouldn't call that a khaki. It's just a little bit of a darker tan, not quite, just not quite coffee or not quite khaki, just tan, a little off-white. And we have a really nice kind of thick looking head. Let's put a nose on the glass. Yeah, getting a little bit more of a coconut aroma, getting a little bit of a bourbon aroma as well. I'm still kind of picking up a little bit on a cinnamon, a little bit of a spicy note, but that's enough about talking about it. It has a little bit of a sweet note to it as well, but enough with the talk. Let's try it out. Ready to try this. Cheers. Wow, that's just as smooth as I remember it. So the mouthfeel is, it's not cloying, but it's very, it's got a very just almost syrupy mouthfeel. It just kind of coats your tongue. It just puts this nice kind of, it's like wrapping your tongue in a nice warm blanket. Just really wraps your tongue. And these first tastes are like first impressions each time, so I want to kind of tell you what the flavors are, but I always want to talk about mouthfeel first. So let's jump back into the flavor. I'm noticing this year what I'm getting a sweet molasses flavor to it, but the cinnamon So there's a lot of flavors going on in this, and it, you know, they mention it right on the label here, right? So on the label they mention that it is, you know, coconut, turbinado sugar, bourbon barrels, all that good stuff. What I get right up front is it's got a very sweet flavor to it. So this year I'm noticing a lot of sweetness, a lot of sugary kind of sweetness. I'm getting a little bit of a bourbon characteristic now on the aftertaste. I'm getting a bit of the bourbon barrel characteristic, so that oak barrel characteristic. It has, again, a little bit of a coconut flavor, but this year, more than last year, and I'll leave a link to last year's review up in the corner over here. But last year, I don't think I noticed the cinnamon so much, and maybe I'm wrong. I didn't watch last year's review before I did this one, but I'm really picking up on the cinnamon this year. It's like you get that sweetness, you get that real, just nice, gentle kind of sweetness, but you get the cinnamon really just kind of pops up really early in the taste this year. It's almost like you get the sweetness and the cinnamon is just right there to kind of greet you with that sweetness. So the sweetness is there. The cinnamon just really rushes up. And I mean, I did taste the cinnamon last year. I believe, again, I didn't just watch the video to recap or anything, but the cinnamon just is really what's sticking out in my mind this year that really kind of sets us apart from what I remember from last year and even years past. Like, it's always had that kind of cinnamon element to it, but this year the cinnamon is like, it's almost so strong that it's like a red hot candy kind of cinnamon, because that sugar's in there, you know, it's very sweet up front, but that cinnamon just rushes. And I've said cinnamon, I don't know, countless times by this point, but that's just really the overwhelming thing. So there's a lot of flavors going on in there. Like I said, you get that sweetness, you get that kind of sugary sweetness, you get a bit of a bourbony kind of characteristic. That cinnamon rushes in so quickly that it almost kind of pushes all the other flavors out of the way. And then what you're kind of left with on the aftertaste is there's just kind of this sugary, red hot cinnamon kind of flavor hanging on your tongue, and then that oak from the bourbon barrel. So it, you know, 15%, this really doesn't strike me as being that boozy, you know, for 15%. And the pour makes it look like it's going to be a little bit thinner on the mouthfeel front than it actually is, because the mouthfeel is not thin at all. So it just kind of wraps this, it wraps your entire mouth and your tongue and everything. And just like I said earlier, like this warm kind of, this warm feeling, because it's, you know, you're getting this thickness of the viscosity of the beer, but you're also getting that cinnamon, which kind of warms you up, and you're getting that just note of those bourbon barrel characteristics, like the bourbon barrel, the oak barrel flavor itself. This is definitely what much more of what I would consider a sipper than the way that I'm consuming it to talk about it with you guys. But there's just a lot of, like I said, that cinnamon is just so up in the forefront this year. I'm not picking up on a whole lot of actual bourbon flavor, but I'm picking up more on, because I'm getting a little bit of that coconut. I'm getting a little bit of, there's not really much, not really picking up on much chocolatey notes. And I think, again, I'm going to say it one more, at least one more time. I think the thing that really sets this apart from last year for me is just how strong and how quick that wave of cinnamon flavor just kind of rushes over my tongue. It's almost a little distracting, to be honest, because you just pick up on it so much that it pushes all those other great flavors that are deep in here. It just pushes all those other flavors down. The cinnamon just suppresses that so much. I would like to see, while I like this beer, I could only probably see myself, I'm happy that I just got the one bottle, because like I said, that cinnamon's just so, to me, is just so overpowering. It's a very good beer. It's still, you know, very dangerous. Like I said, I'm not tasting any booziness at all. Like, there's no kind of boozy burn. There's not even like a burn on the mouthfeel or any kind of alcohol burn at all. But I'm just getting so much of that cinnamon just pushing all the other flavors down. So if I had one thing that I would say to adjust for next year, it would be to cut back on the cinnamon, to let those other flavors kind of breathe. Let those other flavors that you're used to in No Rules just kind of take over a little bit more, and maybe, you know, like I said, that cinnamon just crowds it all out. If that's one thing I would change, again, cinnamon, 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 I would tone down the cinnamon in this year's version. And just as a side note, I wanted to show everybody that I was drinking this at 52.5 degrees Fahrenheit. I like to drink no rules. I like to drink bourbon barrel aged stouts and porters of this style between 50 and 55, just to kind of give me the best kind of flavor. Sometimes as you let it warm, other flavors kind of take over, but I just wanted to cut in and tell you that after the fact, 52.5 was the temperature I was drinking this at. All right, friends, that has been the 2021 release of No Rules. Have you had this yet? Are you interested in seeing what I think of the 2021 variants? Because I got them all. Let me know in the comments down below. While you're down there, if you like beer, you might want to subscribe and click that bell, because I'm here talking about beer twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, every week for viewers just like you. And you never know, you might miss your newest favorite unless you're subscribed and getting those notifications. So until next time, I'm Sean from Draft Therapy. Thanks for stopping by. Remember, drink craft beer, support your local breweries wherever they are. Most importantly, don't forget to treat yourself to a little draft therapy. Thanks for watching, everybody. Cheers.